So thanks very much for the opportunity to be part of this conference here. It's been quite amazing and quite insightful to get all the background stories and all of that happening. What I want to talk about here today is really how we can actually, let me start a little bit earlier. There's been a lot of conversations here about the interaction between manufacturers and consultants and the industry in general. So what I want to do today is really have a look and explore a little bit on how this works in regard to R&D development and stuff like that. Moffat, we are a manufacturer of horizontal cooking equipment, have a convection oven platform, and that involves proofers and holding cabinets as well. As a company, we have a fairly strong or very strong R&D investment. We have worldwide market involvement. We are pretty relevant in all industries in the hospitality area, and so therefore, the R&D is a fairly important aspect to us. Our key motivating factors as a company are product relevance, and really that's where we become very important together as an industry. Our product has to be reliable, affordable, has to have a durability, sustainability and efficiency component built into it. So when we look at manufacturers and consultants working together, there's been a couple of comments from Jörg and from Auburn in regard to the cooperation that needs to happen between our companies. One of the comments was that there's a lot of technical input into the R&D area. We have a very big interest in making sure that the industry has an impact into the R&D that we conduct and the trends and the areas that we embark into. So our R&D committee is really made up in general of our sales teams across the country who bring back the ideas from our customers, both from the consulting area, end user area, right across the world. So we have sales involvement out of the US, the UK, Australia, New Zealand, and of our export team as well. And then of course all of that is headed up by our Managing Director, Greg O'Connell, who is kindly sitting in the room there supporting me, I hope. So in this environment then, the input by consultants into what we do in developing our products and the direction we need to take our product in is very, very important. An interesting part of that was the educational process in that, and that's the education not only in getting the consultant and the end user customer to understand what we're doing and where we're going, but also in being able to educate our customers. Joe was referring about the electrification with the introduction and the training of chefs and users in how to use induction and how to best apply that and get used to it and get familiar with induction product. We take that very seriously, where we have in all our training facilities, for instance, we have induction set up where anybody can really come in and experience the use of induction in its various forms that is available today. We are very, very keen to get as many of the consultant fraternity into our manufacturing facilities. First of all, to understand what we do and how we do it, but also to have an input with our R&D team. So never do we do a factory visit without having a serious component of R&D interaction in our facility. So it's very important that we are linking the industry with our product development. R&D, unfortunately, is a fairly time consuming and takes a lot of resources to get that going. So just to give you an indication of the sort of stuff that's come out of the industry and influenced our R&D area, when we have a look at the trends that emerged over recent years and have had an impact on where we needed to go with our product, etc. So the trends really come out of a whole lot of different areas. They come out of, obviously out of menu offers, the diversity in the food that's being served around the world, and often then requires specialist equipment. Just to give an example of that, we had an emergence, especially in our markets here, this part of the world, where Asian cooking was very much involved in general menu development. So we had this fusion between Western and European cooking that required us really to develop woks and things like that fitted into a general Western lineup. Then we saw this great emergence of solid fuel grilling, so wood-fired grills, etc. coming up. And while there is a lot of specialized equipment and specialist wood-fired grills around in the marketplace, there is also a requirement to have in a general lineup a wood-fired offering that can be applied in that. We saw sous vide developing, plunger grills become very important, hot holding is a big topic today, and things like that. Then all of a sudden kitchens become much more part of an interior design. So we see now a hell of a lot of open kitchens, front of house kitchens and things like that. So the look of the kitchen all of a sudden, the look of a cooking bank all of a sudden become a lot more important. So the modularity of equipment, the presentation of the equipment, while still functional and needed to include some colors as well to fit in with interior designers, and we get some really strange requests on what the equipment should look like, especially in the colored area. And then of course efficiency has become a hot topic around equipment full stop. While we have always been very focused in our gas equipment to bring an extremely efficient product to the marketplace, that's only increased. The demand for that has always has forever increased in that regard. Lifetime cost has become very important, and part of that is obviously the cleanability of the equipment in the operational costs that are involved in that. Then there was also some commentary around compliance. I think Jörg was relating to the European scenario where the different countries have different regulations and requirements. When you have an R&D team that needs to develop equipment for all over the world, they also then need to be familiar, and there needs to be a focus on making sure all of the equipment complies with all the different markets. So while we ship a lot of equipment into the UK, for instance, that equipment cannot be interchanged with equipment that we supply into the local market. So we can see, when you look at all of that and have a look at the industry in the past, then I've got to keep up with this, don't I? So when we have a look at all of this in the past, then it becomes very clear that the R&D is not simply come up with a new idea, get there and get it developed. Yeah? Government environments are also very crucial in our area. So that there's been a great push in the Australian market and New Zealand market and the UK markets, which are pretty big markets, into the electrification. So our R&D team have been working very, very hard in expanding our range of electric equipment. And part of that is really the education that we need to bring to you as an education for the specification areas and all that sort of stuff, but also in making sure that the chefs have an opportunity to experience the changes in that area in a real sense, where they can go and play and do all of that sort of thing. It's quite interesting that when we had a development in grilling, for instance, that went back into the old-timey wood-fired grills, etc., there's now also a very, very strong demand to have electric char grills available and things like that. Now, all of that brings a hell of a lot of challenges. We are talking about biogases, so we talked about the gas development going forward, and the development of biogases and the introduction of biogases into the general gas supply brings additional challenges into the R&D area. We talk about green manufacturing, transportation, packaging, end-of-life policies and things like that. When you look at green manufacturing, there's obviously a lot of talk about wind power, about solar power, things like that. We are lucky that where we manufacture, we have most of our power coming from hydropower. So that's very hard to talk about because simply in the power grid, but it's power that's generated out of water. So what I'm trying to do is just give you an indication where the difficulties lie in getting the R&D in the right direction and how we are pulled by the marketplace into the different areas and where we need to rely on the marketplace and the consultants. So you people are a very big part of making sure that we are heading into the right direction. The current challenges and the trends are very interesting. How do we identify trends? FCSI put a seminar on not so long ago that was presented by Mark de Souza from the Meile Corporation. That was an extremely interesting webinar, and to listen to these guys in their thinking, in where they are going with their developments of their concepts, and where they are looking at improving and changing and getting more efficient, getting more labour savings out of kitchens and equipment and things like that. So it's very important that that sort of feedback gets back into us as a developer of equipment and things like that. And often we find it difficult to get access to these type of people. You deal with them on a consulting basis continuously. So your input back into us in that area is very, very important. And we do always listen. We can't always produce what the great ideas are, but we certainly try to implement as much as we can in those areas. So the trends, what are trends really? They're new dining concepts. Where do they come from? Many developers, chefs that have good idea, it works well for them, all of a sudden it becomes nearly a worldwide trend in a new concept in the kitchens and food. Healthcare and aged care are changing very much. It was interesting to listen to Tim Smallwood in what he's doing up in Asia in regard to healthcare, catering and things like that. So there's a lot of changes. There have been a lot of changes in the past, and we see in our markets again changes right now where it used to be very much mass production food and regenerating, etc., etc. It's now the trend is going back into nearly a la carte dining in the healthcare and aged care area. So that then requires different fit outs in those kitchens, etc., etc. Food manufacturing in many areas. The food manufacturing area is growing dramatically. It takes care of a lot of labour issues in the hospitality industry, and a lot of products are being outsourced. So that in itself then makes sure that production equipment needs to be modern, needs to be up to date, needs to be labour saving, all of that sort of thing. Reheating then becomes a topic with that, and also the hot holding scenario, which certainly is a hot topic for us and continues to develop very, very strongly. what's emerging actually often confused me a little bit yesterday. You talked about every trend has an anti-trend. What's an anti-trend to a trend?
There's the anti-trend.
Yeah.
I think every trend has some pushback, resistance.
Okay.
Right. So
Yeah.
if something is progressive, usually humans are very resistant to change. They embrace very slowly. So that's the pushback. It's like static friction. Once you start moving, you can slide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So when we look at the emerging trends and our challenges going forward, is really there's across the world, I think there's a reduction in food preparation spaces. So all of this needs to then make sure that it's everything is compacted and more efficient. Multi-use equipment is growing a lot. I saw a production kitchen in Switzerland a couple of weeks ago, and they cook all the food in-house. They bring a lot of pre-prepared food in, the veggies are chopped up, the salads are washed, and the meat is cut and all that sort of stuff. But all of the food preparation, the cooking takes place in-house. And the only two types of equipment they have is a combi steamer and a multi-pan. And everything is prepared through that. And then some of it gets prepared, stored away, and then reheated back in the same equipment. Yeah? So that becomes challenging to counteract that and to keep on top of that and understand all of that. Labour-saving devices are obviously an emerging trend, and that is very evident in some of the warewashing solutions that are out there today, where I've seen banquet kitchens where the waiters and restaurant kitchens where the waiters bring the dirty dishes back, load them into the dishwashers itself, and there's for very large volume dishwashing, there's one person that simply takes the clean dishes away. So everything goes in dirty, no involvement in the kitchen at all, and then it comes out clean, and the process, the only person involved is the person that unloads the machines. Accelerated cooking, of course, is still the fastest growing area in our industry, in our markets anyway. So the advent of accelerated cooking has really opened up a whole lot of different areas in food service. We get coffee trucks along the road that used to sell coffee only, doubled their revenue by introducing a piece of equipment that can produce the toasted sandwich or a toasted croissant quicker than can make a coffee. So all of that is interesting as well. Ventless cooking application. So ventless cooking has grown dramatically over the last few years as well. So you have cooking stations now where there's absolutely no ventilation available. We're involved and through some consultants here in Australia with Google and Atlassian, where really they don't want to put in any exhaust systems at all. So all the cooking is simply with equipment that can operate ventlessly. Very challenging in some of the areas to produce that now. And we talk about AI use now and into the future. We don't even think about robotics yet. I think the robotics is something that's going to be a huge challenge into the future. And when we listened to Joe yesterday, most of it today, I believe, is perhaps associated with the QSR industry, where it's being developed now, and QSR in general have had a huge impact on R&D and production of or development of equipment, etc., because they have very clear ideas what they want and ask manufacturers to develop what they want to make it work for their benefits, and the benefits is generally being able to offer a product range that suits them and being able to make money on the product range that they develop. So AI now is a challenge, I think connectivity is a challenge. There's a lot of equipment out there. Anything that operates on electronics can really be connected. There's costs involved in that. Are customers willing to pay for those costs and things like that? There's got to be a benefit in it, and the benefit is difficult if not the whole kitchen is connected to that. So really, when we look at it, involvement between consultants and manufacturers, the consultants for us need to be the conduit very much into the industry in general, to get us the intel, to get us to set the challenges for us to continue with the development of our equipment going forward. So, when we talk then about interaction into the factory, I think all of you are welcome to come, have an open invitation to come to our factories. I know it's sometimes difficult to get the times and to get the opportunity to come and visit us in our factories and get the interactions at the factory level, so fully understand what the equipment does from a technical point of view, but then also understand what the differences are and what the features, the benefits are of the equipment of what we do. So there's an open invitation there for you to come and visit us. Just talk to whoever you know and we'll arrange a visit to our factory in New Zealand. Beautiful part, nearly as nice as here. Okay, so really that's all I wanted to say in this regard, and we're really open to questions and comments and things like that.